Hi y'all, it's been a while since I've done a video of my garden. I think my first video ever was of my garden. Um, right here on the north end, I still have these little heatless habanero plants. They've grown a little bit, but not a whole lot. I don't know if I'm going to get any off of them or not. Got some dill planted in there with them. They have a few of the plants have a few little blooms on them, but I don't know. I guess we'll see because this is something totally new to me. And here's the biggest plant right here. But even that's only about a foot tall, maybe if that. Right in here is my buttercup squash. And let's see, find a nice one for you to look at. Right here. The bees are really busy this morning. Got lots of bumblebees out here. But I've got quite a few. Have the buttercup squash. There's a couple zucchini plants in there because I thought the butternut squash was going to grow the other direction, but kind of has a mind of its own and does what it wants to do. So, but they really are pretty. I'm going to take you over here. Here's a rosemary plant that was very small when I set it out a couple years ago. And it has really grown. And since our winters are so mild, it doesn't die out in the winter. And I just watered this. This is an old tub my friend Karen gave me when she moved. She said she wasn't going to take it with her. So I brought it home with me, and she always had herbs planted in it. So I had bought some chives, and you can see my chives really need to be trimmed up really bad, dried out and put away for the winter. I've got some zinnias, and then right in the middle of all that I've got a lavender plant. Really don't know where the zinnias came from because I didn't plant zinnias in here, but they were in the soil. The seeds were in the soil that I put in there, I guess. And then this is the Mexican sunflowers, and I don't know. I don't think that planting them in the tire was the best thing. I planted them in a tire. I noticed in one of my other tires that, the more the plants were watered, the more compact the soil became. And so it may be that the soil has just become so compact that there's not room for all the roots. I don't know, because when I grew them years ago, they were actually grown in the ground and they did much better. Down here I have a little sage plant. And here are my zinnias that I just watered this morning. I hadn't watered them, I think, for 2 days because of the rain, but I think they actually needed that extra watering. Over here, I have my leek patch, which has lots of grass in it right now, unfortunately. And I will be digging some of it up because some of the bulbs are really getting big. Now, the leek doesn't store well, not like onions and garlic, but you can leave it in the ground and just dig up what you need as you go, especially if you don't have a really cold winter. Now this here is my pumpkin patch, and these are very small pumpkins. They're pie pumpkins, which get to be about 5 pounds a piece. And I'm looking forward to that because I would really like to be able to make my pies out of fresh pumpkin instead of canned pumpkin. And they go all the way over here. In fact, earlier I saw a little pumpkin. I don't know if I can find it now or not. Well, I can see one of them for sure growing right here, but I'd seen a bigger one too. There's a lot of them out here. And then of course I have more zinnias there because I like to attract bees and butterflies to this area. Oh, here's the bigger pumpkin right there. Okay. So in fact, I might even be able to catch this butterfly on the zinnia. You can probably see it right there. Really pretty. I love to be out in the garden in the morning because all the bugs are buzzing about, and have the butterflies out here, and it gets hot and I don't want to be out here anymore. Then I have the rhubarb, and considering this is a cold weather plant, I think the rhubarb is really doing pretty good. I think at first it was kind of in shock with the heat early on, but it's kind of come out of it. And I've been told that you can harvest rhubarb in fall to make pies and such, but then you can also harvest it. You can also harvest it in spring to make jam and jelly and whatever you want to make. And here's the okra. The Clemson Spineless is doing really well. I need to get out and pick because I haven't been out for a few days to pick. But it is doing really well. We've had a few days of cooler weather, so I haven't got the harvest that I normally get, but that's okay because it can be overwhelming at times. I've got one red burgundy that's really tall right here. It's really, really pretty. But it just isn't making the okra that Clemson Spineless is. And of course, these are 60-foot rows. So there's two 60-foot rows of okra. Right in here, I have the black-eyed peas that I planted, and I need to get out and weed them, but they really haven't done that well. I think it's been the heat, because we've had a lot of days over 100 degrees here. I think that's just too much for a lot of things. All this empty spot in here now is where I had squash and cucumbers, summer squash and cucumbers. And we finally pulled up, mowed down, and tilled the soil here. My husband tilled it for me the other day. And over here I have some bell pepper plants, and they have several little bell peppers on them right now. Few of them are starting to turn red. And then of course I have all my tomato plants. I love the little tomatoes, but the only thing I don't like about them is that they spread and spread and spread out. Take up a lot of room. And here I have my basil that I'm getting ready to pull up. I had planted it to kind of repel insects from the tomatoes and the eggplant. My eggplant just haven't done that well this year. But I'm going to harvest the seeds from the basil, and so that I can use them next year. I'll have plenty of extra seeds. And I've got a couple of eggplant down in here. Oh, I see that. I need to pick the yellow pear tomatoes because they are just everywhere. Right here I have the birdhouse gourds. My first time to grow them. And you can see a few of them in there. I'm hoping that they're doing okay. I don't really like to spray for bugs, but I noticed a little bit of bug damage on one of them. And then over here, I have some room that we tilled up as well because our green beans just weren't doing well. They were just dying. They would grow to like full size, and then they would just like wilt and die, and I don't know what that was all about. When I went to pull them up, I noticed that the roots were just like they were broken off, and I'm not sure what's causing that, if that's cutworms, wireworms, grub worms. I really rarely see a grub worm, so I don't know what caused that. If you guys have any ideas, please let me know. These are all my Brussels sprouts. They're hanging in there too. I guess we'll see how they do once the weather cools off. I hope to make some more Brussels sprouts. I guess we'll see how that goes. This was a volunteer tomato plant that I moved over here, or it came up over here. I can't remember which, but anyway, it has some nice sized tomatoes on it. They're not full-size tomatoes. They're like cherry tomatoes, but they're large cherry tomatoes. And it's doing really well. And of course then there is the back of the squash patch. And so kind of give you an idea of how this all connects together. This is the south end, and then I'm just working myself around. So my garden from the north to the south is about 60 feet long, and it's about 25 to 30 feet wide, something like that. And then I have these other strips over here that my husband got ready for me this year for some other things. But usually it takes a few years of tilling the soil and working on getting the grass and weeds out to where it's more manageable to work. So anyway, I just thought I'd come out this morning and kind of do a little video for you so you could see. I have lots and lots, it's hard to see probably, lots and lots of blooms on these cherry tomato plants. And I believe this one I'm pointing at is, yes, it's one of the hardest ones to really get in there and pick because they're tiny, tiny little cherry tomatoes. I'd never seen anything so small. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.